Good evening, Farmington Hills. I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting of November 23, 2020, beginning at 7:30 p.m. tonight for the City of Farmington Hills. If you would like to dial in to speak during public questions and comments or to listen in, please dial 1-312-626-6799. And the webinar link ID is 829-8202-6705, which can also be found on our city website. We'll start as we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now we will start with the roll call. This is, please don't forget to state your name, your city, and the state you are calling in from.
Mayor Barnett.
Vicki Barnett, Mayor, present, City of Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Council members Boulware. I'll come back to her. Council member Bridges.
Yes, Michael Bridges, City of Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Knoll.
Valerie Knoll in Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Massey.
Ken Massey, Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Newland.
Mary Newland, Farmington Hills, Michigan. And Pam, can you turn my video on?
I will try to do that for you.
I've asked her to start her video.
Okay, there you go, Mary.
Thank you.
Council member Steckloff.
Samantha Steckloff, Farmington Hills, Michigan.
And Council member Boulware.
Jackie Boulware, Farmington Hills, Michigan. I need someone to turn my video on. They turned it off.
Okay, they're requesting right now for you to put your video on. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all present and all in Farmington Hills, Michigan. Thank you.
Okay. First item is the approval of the regular session meeting agenda. Are there any additions or subtractions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Bridges.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move the council approve the agenda as published.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Bridges, seconded by
Support, Samantha Steckloff.
Samantha Steckloff. Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Yes, Council members Newland.
Yes.
Boulware.
Yes.
Steckloff.
Yes.
Yes.
Massey. Bridges.
Yes.
Knoll.
Yes.
And Mayor Barnett.
Yes. Next is the selection of the Mayor Pro Tem. This is an annual rotating position, and I'm going to miss Council Member Knoll next week, but she will still be on council, unlike one other person here. Are there any nominations to be placed for Mayor Pro Tem?
This is Mary Newland.
Yes.
I would like to nominate Jackie Boulware to be our new Mayor Pro Tem. As a new member, I think she's been doing a fantastic job, and I think she would be wonderful as the new Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. Is there a second?
I support this motion.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I would move that we close the nomination process, and that I also was very much supporting Councilmember Boulware. I'll move to close the nominations for Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, that's a move to close debate. Is there that is not a debatable motion? So a move to close debate. We need 2/3 in order to do that. Ms. Smith, could you please call the roll?
Council members Boulware.
Can I vote on this?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Steckloff,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes. Okay, there's a successful motion to close any further nominations, and now we will take a vote on elevating Councilmember Bolawar to Mayor Pro Tem to be sworn into that position next week. This is a roll call vote.
Council members Steckloff,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Bolaware,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Absolutely, yes. Congratulations. I'm so excited. You've been on our council, Jackie, for a year. You are, I'm just so grateful you were elected. You are just a terrific council member and you will make a great Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Thank you. Mhm.
Okay, that moves us on to a proclamation recognizing November 28th as Small Business Saturday. I've asked Council Member Steckloff to read this proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Small Business Saturday, November 28th, 2020. Whereas the city of Farmington Hills celebrates our local small businesses and recognizes that they create jobs, boost the local economy, and help to preserve our community. And whereas according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, there are 31.7 million small businesses in the United States that represent 99.9% of all U.S. firms with paid employees, are responsible for 65.1% of net new jobs created from 2000 to 2019, and employ 47.1% of the employees in the private sector. And whereas 62% of U.S. small businesses reported the need to see consumer spending return to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2020 in order to stay in business, and 65% of U.S. small businesses owners agree that it would be helpful regular customers return and make purchases again. And whereas consumers who shop on Small Business Saturday are making a conscious commitment to support small, independently owned businesses and make purchases with a positive social, economic, and environmental impact. And whereas on average for every dollar spent at local small businesses, 67% stays in the community. So consumers should shop or eat at local independently owned businesses or go online to purchase gift cards to local businesses all year round, not just during the holiday season. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Vicki Barnett, Mayor of the City of Farmington Hills, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim November 28th, 2020 as Small Business Saturday and urge our residents to support small businesses annually on the Saturday after Thanksgiving and also throughout the year. I just want to make a comment as well. I know it's going to be tough while we're still in COVID, but please, just because you can't go out shopping now doesn't mean you can't later. And please support our small businesses by purchasing gift cards to be used in the future. This will definitely help keep our businesses afloat during these trying times.
And now that brings us to presentation and acceptance of the city's fiscal 2019-2020 audited comprehensive annual financial report. Do I turn this over to Tom?
You can. Thank you,
Okay.
Mayor. Yes, it's Tom Scribola, your Finance Director Treasurer. With me tonight is Jamie Rivette, Principal with Yo & Yo PC. They are our external auditors, and Jamie will make a brief presentation. She'll start sharing her screen and show you a brief presentation of our year-end financial reports that have been audited by Yo & Yo. It's been a successful audit, and she'll show you the results and some of the financial highlights for you.
Okay.
Danny.
Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you so much. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. I appreciate the invitation to present to you tonight, even though I wish I could be there in person. But, this is what we've come down to, and it's been working good so far. So we'll go ahead and talk about the audit opinion. And that really is what you are looking for from us, is an opinion on your financial statements. And management really is the one that's responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of those financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, as well as the design and implementation of the internal controls. And then as your auditors, my team and I come in and we audit that information presented, and then we express an opinion on it. And you were issued an unmodified opinion, which really is the highest level of assurance offered. It's a clean opinion, and there are no material modifications that need to be made to those financial statements. So in looking at some of the numbers, on my next slide, I have a bar chart here with the total fund balance and the green line kind of going across the center of the page. And this is really just your general fund and is pointing out the revenue, expenditures, and also includes any transfers in or out that we have and the fund balance. So for 2020, the blue line there, your total revenue was $61.9 million, with expenditures coming in at a total of $59.4 million. You can see both of those are just up slightly compared to 2019. And then the total fund balance, which is the green line through the middle there for your general fund, was $39.9 million. So now just another way to kind of look at it. I like to see pictures. For me, it's a little bit easier to visualize it instead of trying to follow some numbers across a page. So this slide is your general fund, and it also includes your public safety fund revenue and other financing sources. So the total was a little over $73 million. And you can see on the blue section there, it's 59% of the revenue is coming from your property taxes, which is about $43.5 million. And then we have the orange section there making up 12%, which is state sources. So that includes your state shared revenue as well as some state grants. So really those two combined together is about 71%, which is based on property taxes as well as your state sources. And it's really reliant on a stable state economy. And we know that if the state economy declines, then so do the property tax values associated with that. So we have your revenue for state shared revenue, and this might look a little bit different than the one you had in your packet because I noticed that it included state grants, and I wanted this slide just to be your state shared revenue. So I did update the one that you see on the screen right now. And I wanted just to point out, you know, if you look back at my first column there, it's 2001. That was when we had state shared revenue coming in at $8.3 million. And then I started charting from 2013 all the way to 2020. And we had, you know, almost every year, there was one year in there where we had a little bit of a decrease, but almost every year we were kind of building that back up just a little bit year over year. Until we got to this year, again, we had a little bit of a decrease, but we are nowhere near close to what we had coming in with state shared revenue back in 2001. So now the pie chart that I have here is focusing on the expenditures, but again, we're looking at your general fund and your public safety expenditures. And the orange section there, about 45% is going out to public safety. So this includes the expenditures for both general fund and public safety. And you can really think of it as every dollar going out, 45 cents of that is related to public safety expenditure. And the next highest category that we have is the blue section up above it, and that is your general government. That's about $13.2 million, and it really includes about 10 different departments that were required through the state chart of accounts to include in there, and it is pointed out in the CAFR too in detail. So now the fund balances for your general fund. So a few years ago, the GASB, which is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, it's kind of the rule-setting body that we have to follow, told us that we had to separate your fund balance into some specific buckets. And we do have non-spendable of about $858,000 that is related to prepaid. So we have some prepaids that we show as non-spendable in the fund balance. And then we have about $18.2 million in assigned for future expenditures. So assigned fund balance really is a fund balance classification that's intended to be used by the city for a specific purpose. And it does not require a formal action. So the finance director and the city manager are authorized to make those assignments. And then we have the remaining amount, 20.9 million, is in unassigned fund balance. So now we'll take a peek at what your capital investments are. And this is for all of your governmental funds. And it's really looking at the activity. I like to look from 2019 to 2020. However, I wanted to know what was that peak in 2017. That was before our time as your auditors. But I did have my notes from last year, and that was a local road project where we had a special assessment project that we had going on. And so that was the spike for 2017. Now, if you look from 2019 to 2020, we had a really big increase there, about 20 million over last year. And really that is the capital outlay expenditures that are added to capital assets in the current fiscal year. And it's because the city is really making a conscious effort to maintain and improve the capital assets and infrastructure. And this increase was really a big result from your new road millage that we got to see those revenues coming in and actually being spent this year. So we did have a significant increase there over last year. Then we have your depreciable capital asset summary for your governmental activities. These are cumulative totals year over year added together. The blue bar shows the total cost, the cumulative cost the city has dedicated to keeping those capital assets up to date and improved. And then the orange bar is the related depreciation that's accumulated over time for those. So you can see over those specific 5 main categories that we have here, the city is spending more than the related depreciation expense related to those items.
Can I interrupt with a question?
Sure can.
Okay, the depreciation, is that, do each of those categories have a separate depreciation schedule?
Yes, yes. We actually have depreciation by line item for each asset that you purchase because each asset really has a separate useful life. So maybe you have a vehicle that, police vehicle, let's say that you're going to use for 8 years. So we depreciate that over 8 years. Whereas a building improvement, maybe we say that's going to last us 30 years. So then we depreciate that over 30 years. So yeah, the capital assets schedules are very lengthy and they are by item that is added to that schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes, no problem. Good question. Okay, and looking at the retirement and retiree healthcare contributions, we do have the contributions are listed at the bottom there. So for the retiree healthcare, the contributions were a little over 520,000, and for the pension was about 5.6 million for this year. The retiree healthcare fund is about 95% funded. So that means we do have some fiduciary assets that are specifically set aside to pay for those obligations. Whereas the pension is about 70.7% funded. So again, both of them, are over 70% funded, and the city does continue to pay the actuarially determined contribution that your actuary calculates, and you guys have been paying that year over year. Now, in addition to auditing the financial statements, we also look at your internal controls too. So we're required by the standards that we have to follow to make sure that you have good internal controls set up, and we walk through those from start to finish for your key transaction cycles. And we did have one item that was a budget overage this year in your local roads fund. And the final amendment to that budget just did not account for all of the potential activities that needed to be recorded in the current year. So due to the dollar amount, we did record it as a material weakness and material noncompliance. We also look at your federal expenditures too, because the city does receive and spend more than 750,000. You have to have what they call a single audit. So this year we tested 2 of your major programs, your Community Development Block Grant, your CDBG, as well as your SAFER grant, the Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response. And both of those were issued unmodified opinions. We did not have any findings or non-compliance items to note there. And in testing those two federal programs, we did cover about 49% of your total federal expenditures as well. And then my last two slides that I have in the governance letter that you would all have in your packet too, just want to point out that the city does have 5 significant estimates in the financial statements. So those are listed in the letter. They're your useful lives of capital assets. So kind of like the question that I just answered. Also, your net pension and your net OPEB liability, those have very significant assumptions related to them and expectations. And then we have some alternative investments. So those aren't measured, the valuation of those aren't measured monthly. So the last one was through March. So we make some estimates as to what that fair value would be for those as of June 30th. And then we had some compensated absences. So amount due within 1 year is also an estimate. And we put a note in here, as always, there's a lot of new GASB standards coming up, and those are listed in the CAFR too. And we will be working with Tom and Elizabeth to make sure we have all of those imported and properly updated for your fiduciary activities and your leases. Those are some future big changes coming up. And then my last slide that I have really is just some future challenges. Pretty similar to what I shared last year, the outlook of the state shared revenue, like I mentioned on a previous slide, especially with some of the pandemic that we're dealing with. We're not really sure how those are all going to shake out for the year. Your future capital needs, I know we've had having that road millage has really helped with that, but there isn't a specific revenue stream for all of the infrastructure additions. And the cost of the infrastructure, those construction costs have increased significantly too, have been rising year over year. And then I listed on there just a couple other items with the federal and state mandates. It seems like those are becoming more and more, and they don't always give you the revenue to help make sure you're in compliance with those too. So it's more time and stress on the employees. And then an increase in healthcare costs too. And I just wanted to wrap up my presentation and really thank Tom and Elizabeth for their hard work. You had some turnover in your finance department this year for us coming in to do the audit, and it was, our second year, and it went so smooth. They were both a pleasure to work with. We do a lot of it remotely, and, the communication was really important this year. We tried to limit our time on site as much as we could too. So I just wanted to point that out and thank both of them for their hard work. Are there any questions that I could answer?
Anybody have any questions? Okay, do we have to take formal action? A formal?
Mayor?
Yes.
I have a question for Tom. Is Tom available?
Yes.
I'm here.
Tom, hi, thanks. First, I want to also thank EO for your presentation. Appreciate it. I know we had a long relationship with Pam Moran, and you're doing a great job with your presentation. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Tom, can you speak to this issue regarding future capital needs, future challenges? Specifically, I know that's covered in our CIP, capital improvement plan. What are the future capital needs? Can you give me a couple points that are important there? And then also the cost of infrastructure in regards to, are we talking about, I know we have a road millage for our neighborhood roads. What are we talking about? Municipal facilities? What are we talking about there?
Yes, sir. Good question. I was actually going to speak to that if I had a chance. If you look at the note 5 of the capital assets in the notes section of the CAFR, you'll see how much depreciation is accumulated on the different asset classes, and the local roads stand out as one that had over the years a larger share of its value depreciated as compared to other asset classes. Typically, they're around 2/3 or so, and local roads were about 3/4 depreciated, meaning that they'd aged out more. So the local road millages that are in place now are really going to help that. The expenditures that are in place are really going to help that a lot. Naturally, you have cost of material and labor inflation that you have to take into account, but our property tax base that funds that millage is strong and has actually been growing still. So we got some headwinds, with COVID and in the commercial sector of our property tax base. But on the flip, that's about 30% or so. But 70% of our tax base is residential, and that's strong, and sales have been strong. So we feel there's a pretty good match of resources to immediate needs and the overall capacity to get work done in terms of local roads and residential roads. But a lot, it's an ongoing battle, and one that I think was, from my standpoint, having been in a couple of communities that got a little behind the curve on roads and didn't really have the resources to plug in like Farmington Hills has. It's a very good thing that the Farmington Hills has done to get those millages in place, and I strongly encourage that kind of capital investment. As far as other capital classes, facilities are another area that you have to keep watch on. It's in pretty decent shape, and that's a couple of other communities I was with were much more mature communities, older communities with older capital assets. Farmington Hills is not at that point in the life cycle, so we've got some resources to invest in facilities, and the CIP program that you will have in the budget upcoming for next year, I think will further reflect some of those priorities. So good question, and I think staff is doing, Karen Mondora, Gary, the engineers, Engineer Kubera, and the others are doing a really good job identifying needs and scheduling them out for budgeting and prioritization.
Tom, one more last question if I could. I know you've just been here for about a year, but it seems like the percent of pension, percentage that we've already paid in has been declining. Could you speak to that? I know the healthcare is also what has seen to be declining. Can you speak to that? I know healthcare probably going to increase costs for healthcare. Maybe you're driving that issue there. Why is it true that our upfront payment on pensions seem to be declining, the percentage of payment? That we already paid in.
Sure. The pension, the overall pension costs, the amount that we contribute over time. I don't have the schedule of year by year contributions, but over time, the amount that we've contributed has gone up a little bit. But it's in that $6 million range or so a year. As far as healthcare, that has gone down quite a bit. That system was closed. So interesting situation where the pension system is settled in at about 74% funded based on the latest actuarial report that we just received last week, actually 2 weeks ago. And so that's it's a little bit above average. The average nationally is about 71% for pensions. Retiree healthcare clicked in at 107%. That's actually up a little bit. The pension was down a little bit. Retiree healthcare was up a little bit to 107% funded, which is good. And so, we've been funding those according to the actuarial calculations and required contributions that we need to make. So, important to keep vigilance as far as the liability side. Make sure we've done everything that we can. I think as far as healthcare, doing a really good job with that, and as far as pension, just keeping watch on that and making sure that we keep funding it and keep the liability under control when we bargain new contracts.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And Mayor, this is Ken. Can I add something?
Sure.
And to Mr. Bridges, your question, and Tom, I wasn't sure you were going to touch on one of the other things that we learned in the last pension board meeting was that due to the volatility of our markets, some of the assumptions in terms of percent that these investments will return has been lower this year, which is also another reason you see that number drop a bit, but it seems to be recovering.
Outstanding point. Yes, it was 7.5% assumed rate of return on investments, and it's been lowered to 7%. And 7 is a pretty standard number. Kalamazoo, for example, had over 35 years, very outstanding, like 11% rate of return. They still lowered their future rate of return assumption from 7.5 to 7 about 2 years ago. So 7 is a very reasonable figure that Farmington Hills has adopted.
Yeah, it's important to note that the percent that we have funded for our retiree health care and our pension is really a paper number based on a lot of assumptions of growth of the portfolio. And when you change those assumptions by lowering the potential future interest rate, for example, you lower the amount of funding we have, even though you didn't make any changes at all. And I think 7% right now is a reasonable number to use, and I'm glad we've lowered it to that. And in the old days, we used to use 8%, and then we had a significant market crash, which and we were using a lower number than many other communities were. So this is a guide, and I want people to remember in the public that this is only a guide, but it's the best we can do under the current market system, and we are very vigilant about what our assumptions are to make sure that our employees are protected and our citizen tax base is protected.
Outstanding.
Okay, any other questions? Do we have to take a formal vote to accept the audit?
I believe so.
Mayor, yes, we have done that in the past.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the presentation and the audit as delivered to us by Yo and Yo?
Madam Mayor, this is Ken. I would so move.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. We were both talking at the same time. Yes, I'll make a motion to accept the city's fiscal year 2019-20 audited comprehensive annual financial report as presented.
Okay. Is there a second, Dr. Massey?
Second, Bridges.
Okay, second by Bridges. So moved by Mayor Pro Tem Knowles, seconded by Councilmember Bridges to accept the audit as presented. This is a roll call vote.
Council members Massey.
He's muted.
You're on mute, Ken.
Yes.
Okay, I was going to say just not if it's a yes.
Council member Bridges,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Bolaware,
Yes.
Steckloff,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And this moves us to the acknowledgement of Samantha Steckloff's resignation from City Council. Did everybody receive a copy of the very sad resignation letter?
Yes.
Okay, well, we have prepared a proclamation for Council Member Steckloff, and I hope you don't mind that I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege and read it myself. So this is a proclamation for City Council Member Samantha Steckloff in recognition of exemplary service to the citizens of Farmington Hills. Whereas Samantha Steckloff served the city of Farmington Hills with honor and distinction as a member of City Council from 2013 to 2020 and as Mayor Pro Tem in 2017. And whereas she was born in Farmington Hills, is a lifelong resident and a Farmington Public School graduate, and as a teenager served on the Mayor's Youth Council and helped create the city's award-winning after-school programs, where she was also among the first participants. And whereas Samantha Steckloff exemplifies a proud family tradition of service to the community, having also served on the city on the Multicultural Multiracial Community Council, the Committee to Increase Voter Participation, the Commission on Children, Youth, and Families, and the Farmington Hills Parks and Recreation Commission. And whereas she is a 2006 graduate of Purdue University and was employed as a program director at the University of Kansas Hillel International and served as the Berman Fellow at the University of Michigan Hillel International and also worked as a manager of admissions at Wayne State University. And whereas as a courageous breast cancer survivor diagnosed at the age of 31, she played a pivotal role in creating the Commission on Community Health, a new city organization dedicated to supporting and encouraging an environment where residents have access to quality health and wellness programs. And she is actively involved with Gilda's Club, a social and emotional support program for those living with cancer. And whereas during her career in politics, Samantha has been affiliated with the Farmington Hills Democratic Party, the Michigan Jewish Democratic Caucus, Brenda Lawrence Women's Advisory Council, Femmes for Dems, the Oakland County Democratic Party, and the Michigan Democratic Party. And whereas after running a successful campaign in November 2020's election, Samantha leaves the City of Farmington Hills Council to continue her service to the people of our community as a member of the Michigan House of Representatives representing the 37th District. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Vicki Barnett, Mayor of the City of Farmington Hills, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby honor and thank Samantha Steckloff for her loyal service to the people of our city and encourage everyone to respect and recognize the work of this highly dedicated individual. Sam, we're going to miss you on council. Does anybody have any comments?
Well, Madam Mayor, this is Ken.
Go ahead.
I will jump in there, and yes. And Sam, we are going to miss you on council, and we expect great things. So go make us proud. I will. For transparency, I did have a nice conversation with Sam about a couple of ideas that I think need to get up to the state, and I think she's going to take those up there and work hard on them. And I'm looking forward to seeing how great she does. So, congratulations on your win again, and we expect good things.
Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Councilmember Bridges.
Okay.
Sam, Councilmember Steckloff, good luck. And congratulations, and we expect great things from you from Lansing, okay? And good luck. Thank you.
Okay.
And it's great serving with you on City Council for the past.
I'll just say, Sam, it's been. Oh,
go ahead, Councilmember Knoll.
Sam, it's been fun working with you. I think most of the time we've both been on council, we've sat next to each other for quite a few years, and especially in study sessions, we just kind of always gravitated to the same seats. So it was fun getting to know you, and you've got some good ideas, and I appreciate your hard work and dedication, and congratulations, and we'll look forward to continuing to work with you just in a different capacity.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, this is Jackie. Congratulations, Sam. You were my seatmate when we were meeting in person there at council chambers. I'll miss your youthful presence, your bubbly personality. I know that you are following a tradition of great leaders from the city council who've gone on to Lansing, and I expect you to do just as well or better than those. So just best of luck. Go up there, kick butt, do what you do, and we'll be rooting for you back here.
Okay, anyone else?
This is Mary Newland. I cannot imagine anyone. You are going to be wonderful. You're going to be fabulous. Not only have I been so happy to serve you as counsel, but I'm also very honored to have been able to call you friend. So I know you're going to do great things. And again, it's great to be able to send a friend to Lansing for us. Thank you.
Anyone else? Guess that leaves it up to me. Councilmember Steckloff, you've been a delight. I remember celebrating your 16th birthday at the National League of Cities when you were there attending as part of our Mayor's Youth Council. I remember you going off to Purdue and introducing yourself to the mayor of West Lafayette and Lafayette, and beginning to start Mayor's Youth Councils in Lafayette proper, and then worked with the Indiana League of Cities to expand the program. I remember when you needed to call your parents to have them guarantee a room for you because you were too young to rent a room at one of these conferences yourself, even though you were leading the program. And you started a great tradition in Indiana and spread our programs and the word of our programs throughout the country. And I know that you served with distinction when Mayor Bates, Nancy Bates, set up the after-school program and you threw yourself into that program 100%, and then asked if we could continue with a Mayor's Youth Council following the after-school program so that all of these wonderful middle schoolers could go on and still continue to serve the city as adults. And you were very instrumental in helping work with the county commission to get a light at Harrison High School after the unfortunate death of one of your classmates. You have never ceased to amaze me in your ability to work and outwork and solve every problem that you've been confronted with. And I know you're going to be a great example for all of your new colleagues in Lansing, because you've done the work before and you know how to make things happen. And I could not be more proud of you. And I'm going to miss you, but I expect to be able to convince you to come back and address us at the council on Monday nights on a routine basis to keep us posted on what is going on up in Lansing.
Thank you. Thank you all. I honestly did not think today would be as emotional as it is. I loved my time on city council and am astonished at how much I have learned just every day. Sitting next to you, Val, has been a true honor. You have mentored me so much. And honestly, without your mentorship, I would not have been this successful. And I'm planning on doing a lot in Lansing. Ken, it's been a joy. I have been serving with you even since I was in high school. I have my team put together in Lansing. We have already started the process of putting forth a bill that you and I have been speaking about. And I'm very proud to have you as my partner in crime in this. Thank you, Michael. We have been on this city council for 7 years together. You have been my strong opponent with me for our SADs, and I cannot thank you enough for your leadership and dedication to so many of the residents here in Farmington Hills. Jackie and Mary, I know we've just begun to work with each other, but the futures you both hold on the city council, I'm amazed at the way you have just been able to embrace so much of this in such a short period of time, especially working from home and not having the resources so many of us had when we first started. And Mom, Mayor Barnett, it's been fun. It's been weird. It's been everything possible that a daughter could ever imagine serving with her mother. And I am still shocked that you could not figure out what to call me when we were on council, but this has definitely kind of been a full circle for me, watching you as growing up as being a leader in this community. And it's crazy that I'm now taking a seat that you have once held. And I'm just, again, very excited to work with each and every one of you. You all have my phone number. Please call me. And I look forward to bringing your voices to Lansing with me. As I said, Ken and I are already working on something. And if you have anything you do want to work on with me, I am here. So I'm just excited. It's weird. It's emotional. It really is.
Yeah, we're going to miss you. It shouldn't be so weird. When you were on the Mayor's Youth Council and involved in the youth projects for the after-school program, one of the things that was put in place by Mayor Bates and the City Council was a program called 2020 Vision. And we did a 2020 Visioning project, and it was all about creating in those early 2000 Zs, creating future leaders, and with the goal of making sure that our youth of then could take over and lead by 2020. And you've done it. So it's the right year, right time. Okay, now we got to get on to a 2040 visioning program, folks. So thank you. We're going to miss you. Next is correspondence. Does anybody have any correspondence that we all did not receive?
Maybe we made a comment about correspondence that we all did receive that we were very impressed with.
Okay.
I was just absolutely astonished. Absolutely we should have been honored to have received the correspondence that we did regarding that was handwritten on 8x11 paper, lined, regarding a traffic situation on a particular street where a child contacts because they cannot ride their bicycle safely. And I was just very, very honored that they contacted us to let us know there's a problem. So I think it was just absolutely. So we had to figure out what we're going to do. So.
Well, we're gonna inform her that there's a program called Safety 3, and that we look forward to presenting it to her and her neighbors, and to make sure that she knows that her voice has been heard at the city. And we'll see what we can do with their neighborhood to make sure that she and her friends can continue to ride their bikes without speeding vehicles threatening them. So. Yes, it was. It was a delightful letter. It was perfect. Anyone else? Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the items may be removed from the consent agenda for consideration. Mayor Pro Tem Knoll, will you read this rather lengthy consent agenda?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Item 9, recommended approval of the 2021 participation with United States Secret Service Fraud Task Force Agreement, CMR 11-20-111. Item 10, recommended approval of AFG Cardiac Monitor Grant and reimbursement in the amount of $20,078.07, CMR 11-20-112. Item 11, recommended adoption of resolution for acceptance of the 2020 Transportation Asset Management Plan, CMR 11-20-113. Item 12, recommended approval of establishing the Verdum Street Water Main Payback, CMR 11-20-114. Item 13, recommended adoption of a resolution establishing the Edith Drive Sanitary Sewer Payback District and the final payback costs, CMR 11-20-115. Item 14, recommended approval of sidewalk waiver request for the Olympia Development Sidewalk located on the west side of Drake Road, immediately north of I-696. CMR 11-20-116. Item 15, recommended approval of award of proposal for participant management software subscription to EPACT in an estimated annual amount of $14,400 with optional extensions. CMR 11-20-117. Item 16, recommended approval of purchase of subscription for threat protection software with Access Interactive for a 3-year agreement in the amount of $108,690 with possible extensions. CMR 11-20-118. Item 17, recommended approval of award a bid for as-needed tire maintenance and service to Seng Tire Company in the amount of $11,000 per year with extensions. CMR 11-20-119. Item 18, recommended approval of canceling the December 28, 2020 City Council meeting. Item 19, recommended approval of the City Council study session meeting minutes of November 9, 2020. Item 20, recommended approval of the City Council regular session meeting minutes of November 9, 2020. And 21, recommended approval of the City Council special study session minutes of November 16, 2020.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?
No, I have a motion.
Seeing
Madam
none,
Mayor.
is there a motion? Yes,
I have
Mr.
a motion.
Bridges.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move that the council approve the consent agenda as read by our Mayor Pro Tem Knoll. From item 9 through item 18, as well as item 21. So I move the council approve the consent agenda as read by the Mayor Pro Tem, item 9 through item 18, also item 21.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Bridges, seconded by Ms. Steckloff. This is a roll call vote.
Council members Bridges,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Bolaware,
Yes.
Steckla,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes.
Okay.
That leaves 2 items, approval of the city council study session and regular session for November 9th.
And
Is
Mayor,
there-
can I just indicate that the regular session, a revised version of the regular session minutes was provided to council prior to the meeting.
Right.
And that was to include the location.
Correct, of each council member.
Correct.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Dr.
I would move for approval of items 19 to 20 as read by the Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, that's Ms. Steckloff, second by Ms. Steckloff. This is a roll call vote.
Council members Knoll,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Bolaware,
Yes.
Steckla,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Abstain.
abstain, and Mayor Barnett.
Yes.
6 with 1 abstain.
Okay, and now we go back to the public questions and comments. Do we have anybody on the line that would like to address us?
Mayor Barnett, we have a few hands raised.
Okay.
Charles Blackwell, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Okay, you're limited to 5 minutes for public comments and questions on city business that is not on the agenda. Go ahead, please.
Hello, my name is Charles Blackwell. I wanted to state about the city of Farmington Hills has been violating the Open Meetings Act. I had sent all of you all an email, including City Attorney Stephen Patrick Jopich, a few days ago. The new Open Meetings Act requires a public body to announce their physical location from which they are appearing during the initial roll call of the meeting. And that information is also required to be listed into the meeting minutes as well. And if you all will look at all of your meeting minutes since that bill was enacted on October the 19th, those meeting minutes does not list the physical location from which you are appearing remotely. And that is a violation of the Open Meetings Act. And I will hope that the city attorney would have you all to come into compliance with the Open Meetings Act, is because it's important for the public to know, where you are appearing from and conducting public business from. And that's all that I wanted to state. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, we really appreciate that, especially since tonight the amendments that were the revised minutes do contain the city and state for which everybody is participating from. And we have been doing that orally since that went into effect. So if you go back and listen to our meeting minutes or listen to our meetings, you will hear us state for the record our city where we are calling in from and the state we're calling in from, because it is important information for you to know. And so it's already reflected in our action, which we have taken, and now we are reflecting it also in our meeting minutes. So we have not violated it, but we're going the extra step now to also include it in our meeting minutes. And I appreciate you calling in, because one of the things we really always want to do is make sure we are on the right side of the Open Meetings Act. Does anybody else have their hands raised?
We have Philip.
Did you want to weigh in on that as well?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Barnett. I just wanted to mention that, yes, I don't believe the city is in violation of the Open Meetings Act. It is a new amendment that was adopted by the state legislature last month when the governor's emergency orders were overruled by the Supreme Court, and the legislature amended the Open Meetings Act to enable electronic meetings to continue and also to ratify all prior meetings that occurred remotely by the city council and city councils and townships and villages across the state. The amendment to the act is there are a lot of ins and outs to it. I understand where Mr. Blackwell is coming from with his position. I did receive his correspondence and read it carefully. I think he might be misunderstanding some of the provisions of the law or disagree with me on them, which is, of course, his right. But I will be communicating with him either tomorrow or the next day to respond to him in a little bit more detail to try and help come to understanding of what the city has been doing in terms of those disclosures to the extent they're required, which at this point, based on the reasoning for the meetings that the city council is entering into, those disclosures aren't required, although the city has been making them, as you indicated. And at Mr. Blackwell's suggestion, and as you mentioned, they're going to be included in our minutes going forward, just to provide an added level of further information right in the minutes, even though it's verbally disclosed and has been at every single meeting. We're going to go another step further at his suggestion and appreciate his comments. Thank you.
Yeah, I do too. And in fact, we will be having under new business item number 6, a restatement of our emergency order in case it's considered to be expired at this point. We don't know, but we will accept a new, hopefully. It's on our agenda tonight so that we go forward following the Open Meetings Act to the T. Okay. Anyone else have their hand raised?
Yes, Mayor Barnett. Philip Mintz, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. Philip Mintz, Eastfield Street, Farmington Hills. I want to briefly discuss how I am very impressed with the development of the Hawk. The recent video that was shown on YouTube is really unbelievable. I am very impressed with the Farmington Hills Special Services Department with Ellen Schnakel, Brian Farmer, and Mr. Hotchkiss. They're doing a remarkable job. I really am excited that I want to, hopefully, when it's all said and done, that I'd like to start using that facility. It's really one of the important landmarks that I feel is going to be important. It's a memory for Harrison High School as well, as it's something that I feel is probably one of the biggest advantages we could use to our city to attract young couples and people in every walk of life to use that facility. And finally, I just wanted to give my congratulations to Sam Steckloff for winning her House seat, and she will be serving this district with pride and joy, and I'm happy that she is representing us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mintz, especially for the comments on the Hawk and for Samantha Steckloff. Thanks. Do we have any other hands raised?
Yes, Kelly G, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Good evening. First, I wanted to say that I appreciate all the hard work before and during and after the election of our city clerk and election workers. I did a lot of work in Wayne County on challenging and observing precincts and whatnot, and it always gave me a lot of pride to see that our own city was working so well and providing every resident the opportunity to cast their votes with faith that, our votes were well processed and that they would count. Secondly, I wanted to say congratulations to Samantha Steckloff, and I know you're going to be continuing a great tradition of Farmington Hills sending a distinguished legislator to represent us, so thank you. My last comment actually pertains to something on your agenda, and it's the possibility of declaring a state of emergency. I've been feeling a little bit like maybe we've been lucky and some of our residents aren't getting the gravity of our situation. And now that our numbers are going up and it's actually affecting our community more, and I've watched this all through the summer because I have students, one in law school and one who's a university student who's staying home. I'm wondering if you'd consider like putting something on our city website, or maybe, doing public service announcements or something like that, because I'm not feeling as a resident that like we're matching the county or supporting the county in terms of the messages that are going out. I had occasion to go to the to the police station, and the technician I dealt with was not masked, nor was one of her colleagues. I mean, there wasn't even one on her person. So I think it's really important that we, as a community, provide that consistent messaging, and so residents feel safe going. I kind of looked up to make sure the glass went all the way up, but I know that the safety and concern of our residents is foremost in your concerns, as you discussed earlier with the crime situation. And I think that's no less important when it comes to walking the walk of public health, and maybe having links on the website to like the COVID resources on the county, so at the county level. So I just hope you'll consider that as you go forward in this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. And yes, we will start to do more posting on our website of COVID restrictions and suggestions on how you can best prepare. And we will make sure that all of our departments, everybody in our departments are wearing masks, especially when they greet residents that come in. So I don't know if Chief King would like to add anything to that, of what his recommendations are for his inspectors and staff that you just highlighted a minute ago.
Yes, we have implemented the MIOSHA policy in the building alone, requiring anyone that cannot maintain a 6-foot social distancing that all masks must be worn if you're not if you're within that 6-foot distance. We provide all of our employees with individual hand sanitizers, gloves, and the masks, both N95s and the cloth masks for each individual within the building. Each individual is also health screened by a supervisor at the beginning of their shift every day.
Okay, may I suggest that even if you're beyond the 6 feet, when you're interacting with somebody, you should probably have a mask on?
Absolutely. I'm not positive, but I think she was talking about the individuals at our front desk that has a barrier in between them.
Oh, okay.
It goes from the desk up to the ceiling.
Okay.
Actually, respectfully, sir, I was as concerned for the employees, because I did observe employees who were not masked within 6 feet of one another. Right. And at least where I work, we're obliged, if we're like not in a closed office space, to wear masks when we're moving about in the common area. And that was my impression of the most recent recommendations, but I'm not a MIOSHA expert, but I think, your department is such a crucial face to the public, and that we respect our officers so much that it might inadvertently give the wrong message to people if they see your staff not masked, that people might feel free to move about in the community in a similar manner, not understanding, that your employees might be behind a full plastic barrier. So,
but they're not separated from one another. We will make sure that we have masks available to everybody, and that everybody wears a mask. This is something that I've been talking to our interim city manager about as well. Want to make sure everybody stays safe, and that all of our employees are safe from all of our employees as well as from the public.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to add? Is there anybody else on the line?
Mayor Barnett, I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay. To all of you who participated, we really appreciate your comments, and you're looking out for us and our staff, and to make sure that we're on the up and up. And again, don't hesitate to call into future meetings. Thank you. Next is council member comments and announcements.
I do. I have a comment, yes. I'd like to use this opportunity to thank everyone who reached out to me the last week or so on the death of a very close family member, and to let them know who died from COVID. And the other 9 individuals who were also diagnosed are well, out of the hospital and at home. Unfortunately, last night I received a call regarding a book club member who had also died from COVID yesterday. And she had it, this is the second time. She's gotten it back in March and it reappeared in September. So I'd like to use this opportunity to have everyone pay close attention to the CDC guidelines. Wear a mask, social distance, wash your hands, and do all the things that are recommended in order to keep us safe. We know that shortly, there's a vaccine coming down the road, and this will be over at some point. And I also like to take this opportunity. This is a moment of Thanksgiving, and I'd like to thank all of my council members, fellow council, for being so welcoming, and just thank them for their breadth of knowledge. As a new council member, you really depend on your fellow council members to bring you up to speed. And in this era of Zoom and not being able to meet in person, it's been a valuable experience. And all of these council members, the city should be really thankful that we have council members and a mayor who are so well versed in city governance and who really look out for the safety of our citizens. So thank you very much, every council member, and to Vicki Barnett, and to all the city leaders at City Hall, Police Station, and Fire. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jackie.
Mayor Barnett?
Yes.
I got a question for, if I could, Police Chief King. It goes with the letter that we received from that young person about safety and bikes. And in my neighborhood, I know this in certain neighborhoods, you get a lot of traffic, a lot of speeders, people going beyond the speed limit. I know we have a practice in place that residents can seek DPR, the public services support in regards to speed bumps and other traffic control measures, but there is a problem with speeding in neighborhoods, and I don't know what we can do to help encourage people to drive the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. As you know, Chief King and council members know that a lot of our neighborhoods are not suited or do not have sidewalks, and I know we can't police every neighborhood like we wanted to police in regards to traffic, and we allow for citizens to do the right thing and to, but there is a speeding problem in some of these neighborhoods, and I don't know what the chief can propose in regards to that issue there. I know in my neighborhood I've asked for that what do you call that monitoring device?
Speed trailer.
Speed trailer. It's helped. But when it goes away, they continue to speed. They come back to speeders again. So, I just think we should look at. I know this is probably a problem with a lot of communities across Southeast Michigan, but I would like for us to see and look what we can do to help enforce more compliance with speeders in neighborhoods, particularly, because the consequences are such a potentially devastating in regards to accidents and hurting people. So that's my comments about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chief. Go ahead, Madam Mayor.
No, go ahead, Chief. I'm
just going to say, we have a traffic safety section that not only deploys the radar trailers for awareness, they will conduct selective enforcement, meaning stationary enforcement, either by our motorcycles or our vehicles. We will do that selective enforcement through our traffic safety section. We'll also do it through our normal patrol duties. Anyone that has an issue like that, I urge them to either email us, contact the command desk or our phone numbers, leave a message. We will put it in that log, either in the traffic safety section or our patrol division, and we will ensure some special attention and some enforcement is provided to that area.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that.
And Mayor, if I may, Councilman Bridges, again, encourage those residents to reach out to our Public Services Department, have them give Karen Mondora a call. We're more than happy to meet with them and explain to them the Safety 3 program. It's very important to really establish the fact that people are speeding. A lot of people believe that, if you're walking through a neighborhood, and I know your neighborhood doesn't have sidewalks, that, if you're walking down the street, it may appear that people are speeding. In many instances, they are not. Some instances, they are. So it's very important that we have the opportunity to meet with the association, sit down with them and explain the program, and really establish that there truly is a speeding issue in those neighborhoods. So we're very much open to that. Encourage them to call us, please.
Thank you, Gary. As a city, will you consider some type of proactive effort in regards to some communication with these homeowners association in regards to letting them know what's available in regards to assistance? I mean, I think a proactive approach would be helpful too. I know we need people to come forward and call the city about it, but if we can do it, be more proactive on the issue by alerting homeowners association that there's help available to help mitigate issues of speeding in neighborhoods.
Without a suggestion, we have a newsletter that goes out regularly to every single resident in the city. Why don't we just put the information about the Safety 3 program in there? And that way, if individuals, homeowners think that people are speeding by their house, they can reach out to special services and the police department, either or, and they can get it set up. So why don't we just be proactive and do that? That way, every single resident has the information.
I agree with that suggestion, Councilmember No, but at the same time, I would like to see if the city could just send out a letter to all the homeowner association or through the Council of Homeowner Association itself, let them know that what's available, regarding that particular issue. So I like that point, Councilmember.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of a cost-effective way to do it because we need to always manage the city budget, and that letter goes out anyways. We're already paying postage. So that's why I thought it was a good way to do it. Because I will tell you, the city does not have a good updated list of emails for all of the homeowner associations in the city. And I know that because as being a liaison for the Beautification Commission, every year we try to get a hold of the associations, homeowner associations, to try to get them to make nominations for beautification awards. And it's a challenge. People change their email frequently. The presidents of the homeowners associations are often changing, and they don't come into the city and update their contact info. So quite honestly, we just don't have good contact lists for the homeowners association. So that's why I'm thinking to help with the city budget as well as get the information out to everyone in the city. The newsletter would be a good way to do that.
That's a good approach.
If I could jump in as well, usually the first meeting of the year for the Council of Homeowners Associations invites the city manager and the mayor. And every year I participated in it, the Safety 3 system was one of the discussion points.
Right.
So there are multiple communications methods. And Mr. Bridges, you're absolutely right. Those are the directions that we want to take and get that information out there. So, but it is being done.
This is Mary Newland. I highly value your comments because I'm a resident who is not associated with a homeowners association. So there's many residents that we do not have a rep for the area that we live in. So I think doing a much more broader communication is very important.
Okay, anybody else? Yeah, I like the idea of making sure that we have notice through the Farmington Focus that goes out, Farmington Hills Focus that goes out to every resident. 3 times a year, I think, 2 or 3 times a year. And we should put it in there. But I think we also start to need to use our website a little more proactively. And there could be hot topic buttons on there. COVID, Safety 3 program for if you have trouble with your neighbors speeding through your community, your local streets. And I'm sure I was going to put that actually on my goal setting agenda. So anyway, that's bringing that up, but yes, there are
Good
several
idea.
hot topics right now.
Yep,
Yeah.
good idea.
Okay. Any other council member have a comment or announcement?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
If a resident has not yet thought about it, our senior adult services probably are still in need of volunteers or those who are wanting to adopt one of our seniors for the year. Of course, many of us are not going into an office, or maybe our business that we've been working with are no longer doing maybe a organized adoption of a family or other seniors. So I would encourage everyone that if you've not yet thought about adopting, maybe you can think someone with your business, but maybe adopting someone here locally in the city. Last year they took and brought something even small as a candy to 225 of our seniors. So I'm for sure the need is much more, since many of our seniors have been quite isolated this year. That again, if you could support, try contact senior services, see what you can do.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I also want to remind everybody that our fire department has turkeys to be delivered to families in need in our community. We want to thank them for that ongoing program. And if you have any extra money in your pocket, CARES or the YMCA or Salvation Army could certainly use the help in helping others less fortunate than many of us. And we hope you take the opportunity, following on Ms. Bolowar and Ms. Newland's comments, make sure that you look out for everybody in the community that you can possibly help. It's really tough times out there. Really tough. Next is the city manager update. Mr. Mekjan, what have you got?
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Oh, we lost you.
How about now?
Perfect.
Okay, spacebar slipped away from me. Sorry about that.
We lost you again.
Hang on one second.
Okay, there you go.
Technology, I'm trying to do.
Lost you again.
Second.
Nope.
There, how's that? I'll just
That's
unmute
good.
altogether. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, very good. So, just a reminder that city offices will be closed Thursday, November 26th and Friday, November 27th for the Thanksgiving holiday. Kind of along those same lines, garbage, recycling, and yard waste collection will not be scheduled on Thursday, November 26th due to Thanksgiving holiday. Garbage pickup will be delayed one day, with Thursday's collection made on Friday and Friday's collection made on Saturday. Regular pickups will occur this week, but today and tomorrow and Wednesday. Yard waste pickup in Farmington Hills will end for this year on your regularly scheduled pickup day during the week of December 7th through the 11th, 2020. The holiday light ceremony, originally scheduled for Tuesday, December 1st, has been canceled due to COVID-related concerns, unfortunately. A virtual tree lighting video will be posted on social media the first week of December. And to follow up on Councilperson Newland's comment, Special Services Department is looking for helpers for the Secret Santa Goodie Baskets and Packages program, which provides badly needed cheer to seniors experiencing isolation and loneliness during the pandemic. Please contact our fantastic senior adult supervisor, Teresa Jurgovich, at 248-473-1826 if you are interested in participating. I also just wanted to comment about the COVID-related issues and how we're handling them here at City Hall. We are following the MIOSHA and MHA, Michigan Health Department guidelines as well. As far as all employees have been directed to wear masks when not at their desk, or if they are not properly social distanced. Of course, wear masks and face shields at all time. We're sanitizing. We're encouraging proper hygiene, all the things that we can do. I want to just caution folks that are visiting City Hall, we are open for business. However, in order to, again, comply with those MIOSHA guidelines, all visitors have to go through a health screening when they enter City Hall. So we have installed a doorbell at our south entrance, which is the main entrance of City Hall. For all of our visitors, please push that button. Somebody will be down very promptly to allow you into the building. We will do your health screening, and you will be directed in the right direction for the department that you need to do business with. And last but not least, I wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Have a great and safe holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we move on to new business. Item number 6, consideration of adoption of a resolution declaring a state of emergency to protect the public peace, health, safety, and general welfare, and adoption of the City of Farmington Hills Rules of Procedure for Electronic Meetings. Do I turn it over to you, Mr. Mekchin, or to Mr. Jopik?
I think we'll let Steve run with this one.
Okay, Mr. Jopik, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. All mine for now, but this is for council to decide. Of course, this is a proposed draft resolution declaring a local state of emergency, and also in your agenda packet are rules of procedure. If you do adopt this resolution, there are rules of procedure for your future city council meetings if you choose to declare a local state of emergency. Those rules are required under the Open Meetings Act that we were talking about earlier. But let me jump back to the resolution. As council is aware, a local state of emergency or local declaration of local state of emergency was adopted back at the beginning of the pandemic in late March. It followed on the heels of the executive orders that were put into place by Governor Whitmer. And there were a number of requirements in those executive orders and findings in there that in turn called for the city, if it wished to conduct remote meetings and do other things at City Hall and take care of its local business, it needed to consider a local state of emergency to specify some of those aspects. The resolution that was adopted back at that time made a lot of the same health type of findings that exist in this draft resolution. There has, of course, been an uptick, as everybody is aware, unfortunately, in our current situation with the COVID-19 pandemic. And as we also know, and as I mentioned earlier, the governor's executive orders were overruled. So our prior declaration of emergency basically no longer really applied very effectively because it was based on those executive orders and the conditions back then and the state of affairs with respect to access to City Hall meetings, City Council meetings, and so forth. Pretty outdated. So if council wishes to proceed with holding remote meetings as one subject matter of this after December 31st of this year, it would need to have a local state of emergency, unless, of course, the county adopted one or the state adopted one that was legitimate. But one of the options under the Open Meetings Act is to have your own local state of emergency. It also would basically re-implement some of the things that were under the original declaration back in March. As you can see, when you go down on page 2 of the draft resolution that we prepared and put in your packet, toward the bottom of page 2 is a paragraph number 1. It's worded very similar to the prior state of emergency in terms of the opening portion of that number 1. It only has A through C, however. In the prior declaration, it was A through G. There were just so many other things that weren't being addressed at that time by the state, and based on the information we had at the time, they were necessary, but it doesn't look as though they're necessary any longer. And the things that are needed are covered in A through C right now. Number 1 is worded fairly broadly, as it was in the prior declaration that was adopted back in March. But paragraph 2 is kind of a check on that, or a check and balance, so to speak, in the sense that this one, unlike the prior one, does have an expiration date of March 30, 2021, or such time as City Council, who is in control of this resolution, decides that it's no longer necessary and terminates the declaration. City Council always has the right and authority to amend its resolutions in this declaration anytime it would like to do so if there's any need to undertake that. The last paragraph just clears up the record with respect to the March resolution to make sure there's no conflict between the two resolutions. So that's my summary of the resolution. It's authorized under state laws. You can see it's all spelled out in the resolution as it was before. And as I mentioned early on, the rules of procedure for remote meetings are also in your packet. I've suggested a separate motion for that because it would only apply if you adopt the first the resolution declaring the state of local emergency. Those rules are put into place as best we can based upon the new state law, Open Meetings Act amendments we talked about earlier, and they enable you to continue with remote meetings come the new year. Right now, you can have remote meetings for any reason at all. After the new year, it has to be based on a declaration of emergency or military service or medical condition for members of council to attend remotely. Those are the only three reasons that you would be able to continue with a remote meeting. If you adopt this resolution, however, you would be authorized to continue with those remote meetings anywhere throughout the entire year of 2021 if you deem it so necessary. To do it beyond March 30th, you would have to amend this resolution, however, and we can address that as time permits in the future. Here to answer any questions you might have regarding this.
Any questions? I'd like to add one more point. While the mayor can declare a state of emergency, it only lasts for, I believe, 10 days before it has to be ratified by the council to continue. So that's why we're just skipping the me step and moving on to the council step. In addition, having our own state of emergency declaration allows us to participate directly in COVID-related reimbursements by the feds or the state, should we decide to do that. Otherwise, we are at the mercy of the county or the state. And this way we can get reimbursed if such monies do become available directly ourselves through grants and participation in reimbursement questionnaires and statements. So I believe you want this under two separate motions. The first being a motion to adopt the resolution declaring a local state of emergency to protect the public peace, health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of the city of Farmington Hills. If anybody has any questions, now is the time to ask. Do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution declaring a state of emergency?
I make a motion to adopt the resolution declaring a local state of emergency to protect the public peace, health, safety, and general welfare as presented.
This is Mary Newland. I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Bolaware, seconded by Councilmember Newland. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this would be a roll call vote.
Make sure I'm off mute here. Council members Newland,
Yes.
Bolaware,
Yes.
Steckloff,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
Knoll, Councilmember Knoll,
Oh, yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes.
7-0.
Okay, 7-0. And now, is there any discussion on the Farmington Hills recommended rules of procedure for electronic meetings? Seeing no questions, does anybody want to make a motion to adopt the City of Farmington Hills rules of procedure for electronic meetings?
Madam Mayor, this is Ken, and I would move that we adopt the City of Farmington Hills rules of procedure for electronic meetings as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Or
Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Massey, seconded by Councilmember Bridges. This again is a roll call vote.
Council members Bolaware,
Yes.
Steckloff,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes. Thank you very much, everybody, for that. Important that we get that out of the way. And now we move on to item number 7, consideration of approval of setting city council goal session meeting date. Mr. Mekchin, you want to take this?
Certainly. So, as you all know, annually, City Council has a annual City Council goal session meeting. I'm suggesting, based on the discussion we had during the study session, the date of January 16th, 2021. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Is there a motion to set the city council goal setting session for Saturday, January 16th, 2021?
Mayor,
Sure.
I have a question, if I could.
Yes, Mr. Bridges?
Yeah, we talked earlier at the study session about the vacancy process we're going to go through. Do we see any conflicts there in regards to goal session and being able to interview candidates? And that, I just want to make sure that we don't have any conflicts or any potential issues with that. We all set. Let me know. What do you think?
I
Well,
think
this is Ken. I can jump in there. I thought we were
Go ahead.
in our discussion. We had talked, as Mr. Mekchin has already said, about having the goal setting session on the 16th of January.
Okay. Just want to make sure there's no conflicts. I'm trying to say.
With the potential for a different date for those other interviews that we will talk about at our next meeting.
Okay. All right. I think that's what I
And,
want to make
and,
sure.
and inviting those that applied for the open council seat to attend virtually our goal setting session so they can understand what we will be dealing with in the next upcoming year.
No, now I recall. Sorry for that.
That's no problem. Is there a motion?
Mayor?
Sure.
Mr. Jopik?
I was just going to say, I didn't hear a time for, I know you're setting the date, but is there a need to set a time for your meeting as well?
Oh, probably.
What about 9 a.m.?
Good point. Yes.
I will make a motion.
Okay.
Okay. I will make a motion that we the city council set Saturday, January 16 at 9 a.m. for a goals session meeting.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Knoll, seconded by Councilmember Dr. Massey. Are there any discussions? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Yes.
Massey?
Do I vote on this?
Well, you're here now, I guess.
Yeah, make me wake
Yes,
up.
sounds great. I'll be there.
Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Bolaware,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes.
7-0.
Okay, item number 8, consideration of approval of reappointment to the employee retirement system.
Madam Mayor, this
Yes.
is Ken. I would have a motion,
Yes.
and that would be to reappoint Mr. Eric Gould to a 3-year term on our employee retirement system to end on December 31st, 2023. I've been on the representing council on the retirement board system for the last year and working with Mr. Gould, and he's really motivated. He knows his stuff. He's really good at this. So I'm proud to make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Mary Newell. I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Massey, seconded by Councilmember Newland. Any discussion?
Your Honor, I see that Mr. Gould has his hand raised.
Oh, Mr. Gould.
Mr. Gold, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Eric Gould here, Farmington Hills, Michigan. It's been an honor and pleasure to serve on the board, and appreciate the opportunity to continue for another term.
Okay, well, we will vote on that to make that a certainty right now. I'm so glad that you've put in your request to be reappointed. You've served us so well, and I've heard from many people on the pension board that they really like having you around. So we will take care of that right now. This is a roll call vote?
Council members Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Bullaware,
Yes.
Steckloff,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes. Welcome aboard again for another 3-year assignment, Mr. Gould. Okay, and that brings us to item 22. And that is consideration of approval to enter into a closed session to discuss an employee requested interview and review, and to make a note that council may return to an open session immediately following the closed session.
Madam Mayor, I would move that we move into closed session.
Okay.
I will support that in that with a friendly amendment that the reason is to discuss an employee requested review.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
It's been moved by Dr. Massey, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Knoll, that we enter into a closed session to discuss an employee requested review. This is a roll call vote.
Council members Bridges,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Bullaware,
Yes.
Steckloff,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes. So we will move into closed session with the note that we will probably return to an open session immediately following the closed session, mostly for the purposes of adjournment. So I will.
So, and Carly's going to kind of go over how this will be done.
Okay.
So any of the public in attendance at this time, I'm going to ask you to remove yourself, and we're going to go into closed session. We'll go live once we go back into open session. Mayor Barnett, you're all set.
Okay. I will now call officially to order again our general regular meeting for November 23rd. The next thing on the agenda is formal adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, so moved.
Okay, Dr. Massey moves that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bridges seconded the motion to adjourn. This is a roll call vote.
Council members Bullaware,
Yes.
Steckloff,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes, so this is the end of our meeting for our normal city council agenda for November 23rd, 2020. We will be back in session for our next study session and open meeting on December 14th. And while we say goodbye to Council Member Steckloff tonight, if you are interested in being appointed to City Council, please feel free to send your letter of interest on to City Hall with a request and your resume, and we will be happy to consider that in the upcoming months. And again, thank you to all who have tuned in tonight, and good night, Farmington Hills.
Good night. Thank you.
All right.
Good night.